All right, today we are diving deep into an absolute masterpiece of Bengali literature. It's a story about love, crippling doubt, and social rebellion that, believe it or not, feels just as relevant today as it did a century ago. We're talking about Sara Chandra Chattopadhyay's classic Grihodaho. So the original Bengali title is this, Grihodaho. Just one word, but wow, it is so powerful. It immediately tells you you're in for an intense, emotional ride. And in English, it translates to the burning home. Now, this isn't just a catchy title. It is the core metaphor for the entire story. It's this powerful symbol of, yes, destruction, but also something like purification. So that really sets up this central question of this whole novel, right? What actually happens when you have love, you have doubt, and you have social rebellion, all colliding in, well, a literal storm of fire? Let's get into it. Okay, so here's how we're gonna break it down. First, we'll meet the three people at the center of this storm. Then, we'll look at the love triangle that forms, see the fire itself, walk through the tragic aftermath, and finally, figure out what that fire really revealed. All right, part 1, 3 lives, 1 destiny. This is the setup, where we meet our 3 main characters. And their lives? Well, they're about to get tangled up in a way they could never imagine. So first up, you have to meet Achala. She is absolutely the heart of this story. Now, you gotta remember, for early 20th century Bengal, she is incredibly modern. I mean, she's educated, fiercely independent, and she just refuses to be boxed in by all the rigid social rules of the day. She's a total idealist, looking for a love that can actually keep up with her. And then there's Mahim. He's her dreamer. He might not have money, but what he has is this incredible devotion. He really represents this pure, almost idealistic kind of love. And you can see why that shared idealism is what first sparks things between him and Akansala. And of course, we need a complication. Enter Suresh. He's actually Mahim's childhood friend, but they couldn't be more different. Suresh is wealthy, he's confident, he's worldly, but he's also way more traditional. He's basically everything that society tells you you should want in a partner. And yeah, his arrival is gonna light the fuse on some serious conflict. Which brings us right to part 2. A triangle of desire. This is the rising action, where that initial spark of romance really starts to crack under pressure. So at first, it looks like a pretty straightforward love story, right? Achala and Maham fall for each other. But society's not having it, so they make this incredibly bold move. They elope and run off to Maham's village. You think this act of rebellion would give them some peace? But nope. Instead, that quiet, isolated life starts to plant a really dangerous seed in Achala's mind. Doubt. And this is the question that just starts to eat away at her. She's thinking, he loves me, sure, but is he strong enough for me? She starts questioning if his gentle, dreamy kind of love is really gonna be enough. Is he going to be able to match her drive, to handle the kind of world she wants to live in? And that question, that internal tug of war, becomes the real engine of the whole story. And this really lays out her dilemma perfectly. On one hand, you've got Mahim's love. It's idealistic, it's about their shared dreams, a real us-against-the-world vibe. But then, Suresh comes back into the picture, and he is everything Mahim is not. He's confident, he's worldly, he offers that social stability she thought she didn't want. He becomes this tempting alternative, and he totally plays on all her insecurities. And all of this tension, all this doubt, it's all building towards the explosive climax of the whole book. Part 3, The House of Fire. This is where that central metaphor becomes terrifyingly real.
Then it happens. A fire. It breaks out one night, and it is sudden, it's chaotic, and it is absolutely devastating. Mahim's family home, the one place that symbolized their new life together, is just gone, engulfed in flames.
The fallout is immediate and just brutal. Their home is destroyed. The shock of it all is so intense that Mahim just collapses. He gets seriously ill. And who steps into this chaos? Suresh, of course. He uses his money and connections to get Mahim medical care, basically becoming their savior. But in doing so, he pulls all 3 of them into this even tighter, more complicated web of obligation. Okay, let's move into the aftermath. Part 4, Ashes and Realizations. Because after the fire, all that's left are the hard truths. The characters are forced to finally confront who they are and what they really feel. But things just get worse. Mahim's health is failing, which means they need Suresh more than ever. And then, in just the cruelest twist of fate, Suresh himself catches the plague while taking care of Mahim,
and he dies. It is a massive, devastating blow for everyone. But his death also acts as this strange kind of catalyst, because now the source of all that conflict and tension is gone. It's just Achala and Mahim left alone with their grief. And it's in that shared sorrow that they finally truly find their way back to each other.
And that brings us to our final part, Part 5, What the Fire Revealed. This is where we finally understand what that title, The Burning Home, was really all about. See, Grihadaho was never really about a literal house burning down. That fire, it was a crucible. It was a test. It symbolically burned away all the superficial stuff, Achala's doubts, Suresh's complicated influence, all of their illusions about what love was supposed to be. And what was left in the ashes was something real, something purified. And I think that's the ultimate takeaway from this whole story. True love, the kind that lasts, isn't some perfect dream. It isn't about finding the perfect, stable situation. No, it's forged in fire. It's tested by the absolute worst parts of life. It was only after going through all that hardship and loss together that Achala and Mahim found a love that wasn't built on fantasy, but on a deep, real, shared understanding. And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on, doesn't it? It makes you wonder, how many of our own homes, our own beliefs, our relationships, the things we think make us secure, how many of them have to metaphorically burn down before we finally see what truly matters?